You're here at the Cannabusiness Attorney Hour. I can be reached at charles@thecannabusinessattorney.com. For you that are watching online, you can see that I'm wrestling with a chair, trying to get sit down, and the chair's winning. Anyway, I can also be reached at howtomarijuana.com. My partner in crime, KC, is actually in Nashville, Tennessee today. He's got a big event planned at the state capitol there, and he will be calling in live at 9:20 after our first break. So we got a little bit of time to talk about some other things. This morning, we're going to shift gears just a little bit and get more into the business of cannabis and some of the things that are going on in the investing space. There's a lot of people that I've spoken with that may not necessarily either qualify as an owner or would have interest in investing in the business, but not necessarily being hands-on. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you need to know and hear about investing in the cannabis space, and also some things that you need to know that are some of the pitfalls that you can easily avoid if you just pay attention. Also, too, we should have Drew in studio, Drew Milburn, Big Daddy Drew, here in just a little bit. He is on his way in and will be joining us shortly. The other thing I wanted to do was I want to give a shout out, first of all, to my daughter and the people up at Allgreens in Denver. I had a brain cramp there for a minute. Allgreens in Denver, they're a pure medical shop in near downtown Denver on Calumet Street. Stop in, say hi to Caitlin, and also make sure that you check out some of the meds that they have there. They have a very, very talented grower who's one of the owners, and they produce some of the best product that you can find in the Denver area. Also, too, I want to give another shout out to the newbigbiz.com. You can look on the internet, look on New Big Biz, and that's BIZ.com, and you'll see Casey's smiling face. It's a product that we are producing in connection with our partners there at newbigbiz.com, a book and CD group or set that you can buy and review at your leisure. It provides kind of the nuts and bolts on how to get into the industry, the pitfalls, and it has a book that I wish I would have written, but someone else wrote it and did a very good job picking up on not only what we provide, the information that we provide on the CD, but also information that we provide kind of offline about some of the pitfalls, again, the do's and don'ts of getting into the industry, and answering a lot of questions that just keep coming up over and over and over again. So check out newbigbiz.com. That's New Big Biz, all run together, and biz is BIZ.com. And check out our product, buy the product, because that helps us continue doing what we're doing by providing information here on the radio, and also allows us to get out and touch people and hopefully change their lives. Like I've told people countless times, I have three spots in my heart. One is for children, one is for entrepreneurs, and the other is for vets. And so, for all the entrepreneurs out there that would like to get out there, please check out newbigbiz.com, and also reach me at thecannabusinessattorney.com, and also on howtomarijuana.com. Like I said, we'll have Casey on the phone here in just a little while. Drew drug himself in. He's looking a little bedrazzled here, but
hey man, gotta love them babies.
Yeah. Anyway, Drew, I want to remind you that we are live on YouTube as well.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so
hello, everyone.
So we get to see your smiling countenance with your headphones on.
Glad I didn't do anything crazy as I walked in.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, one of the things that we were talking about was not only our new CDs that are coming out, newbigbiz.com, but we're also going to talk this morning, like I was saying before you walked in, we're going to change gears a little bit this morning. Instead of talking about what's going on with state legislatures and what you can do to get in the business at that level. You know, you got to fight the fight at the state legislature level, but also want to talk about some of the possibilities for investing in the business, either through stocks or outright ownership, and some of the pitfalls that we've seen over the last couple of years about what's going on there. But so that everybody understands, Drew is not only a very good friend of mine, he is a retired member of the Marine Corps. He served our country, and like I said, you know, got a soft spot for children, vets, and entrepreneurs, and he certainly fits into. Well, he's not a child.
Well, there's two of them, and I am like the third.
Yeah, well, yeah, so yeah, exactly. And I've seen him, you know, act up a little bit. Sometimes you gotta, you know, send him to the corner with his pillow and binky, and make him settle down. But anyway, for those that don't remember, please introduce yourself. Tell people a little bit about what you do and the things that are going on in your world right now, because Drew is up close and personal with investing in marijuana businesses, but also in ferreting them out so that he knows whether or not, because he acts as a consultant, and he will be, you know, asking or, you know, having questions for people that are pertinent to investors. So introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Well, thank you, Charles. Drew Milburn. Like Charles said, I spent some time as a Marine, and since then, when I left the Marine Corps, I got into manufacturing. So we were manufacturing motorcycles at the time, and subsequently in Southern California, big business was motorcycles and marijuana. So after studying various manufacturing practices and so forth, we took that kind of over to the gardening side of marijuana, and started showing local gardeners how to, you know, basically turn their gardens into production facilities. And although California has some strange rules and regs on growing, you know, through their caregiver model, we were able to put together some legitimate programs out there and stay well within the rules, and which, you know, I try to remind everybody that's important to do. If you're going to be in this business, you don't want to end up, you know, on the wrong end of it.
Yeah, you don't want to wind up out of business simply because you couldn't read the rules or choose not to comply.
Yeah, and it's always easy to kind of turn a blind eye, but it never works out in your favor that way. So at any rate, once we got up and going in Southern California, I turned my attention to the dispensary model. We opened a dispensary out there in North Hollywood. That was a lot of fun. Of course, in a city like Los Angeles, there's, you know, hundreds of thousands of patients, and of course, just the general take on marijuana is a little more lax than you might imagine. So it was, I mean, from the day we opened the store, things went well for us. But we tried to run a little bit different store than most. I mean, for us, it was more about taking care of the patients and things like that than it was soliciting to possible recreational users and so forth. So, but because California really didn't have, or specifically Los Angeles didn't really have a good game plan for dispensary owners, we came out here to Colorado, and as you know, Charles, because you were involved with us, we had the first dispensary license here in Colorado Springs, which was exciting for us. And at the time, the largest grow operation in town. And of course, now I look back, and that 10,000 square foot grow facility as a drop in a bucket compared to what folks are doing now, right?
Yeah, and I was reading an article that they anticipate the marijuana business, or at least the industry, to grow from its current size in 2013, 2014 of about 1.6 billion to $8 billion industry in 2019. And I'm not aware of any business around that has those kind of growth numbers.
Well, I mean, it's insane. It really is. And, you know, now, again, what we thought 100, 120 light grow facility, flower lights, now, you know, if you're not doing 300 to 500, you're not even making a dent in it. So, you know, but since then, I mean, just like, you know, you and I have traveled a fair amount around the whole country, you know, trying to get people locked on. We did that stint down in Arizona. That was good. Opened a handful of dispensaries and grow ops. And now it's all about investment. I've moved into the public sector now, Gala Global Inc., and, you know, a small publicly traded company, just trades on the penny stocks. But like everything else, you've got to find an entry. And, it may be a little while before somebody's on the big board, so to speak, when it comes to the stock play. But there's probably got no less than 50 different publicly traded companies out there. Our particular company is focused on not only just cannabis in general, but primarily hemp. And you know where that's going in this country. I know you've talked about that many times on the show.
Yeah, and I keep running into people that are seeing hemp on a lot of different levels. Investors that are seeing hemp on the level of, this is a cash crop that we can make money. Right. You know, I was talking with Drew yesterday during lunch. We had lunch together yesterday. And one of the things that actually KC stumbled across was a plaque in Kentucky that said that the hemp production in Kentucky was some 40,000 tons in 1850. It was the largest hemp producing state in the Union at the time, and the peak was about 1850. They estimated that crop was worth about $5 million in 1850 dollars. Well, I took, as I told you yesterday, I took the time to look online how much would $5 million be worth.
Right.
In today's dollars, if it was worth $5 million in 1850, and the site that I looked at came up with $142 million.
Yeah.
Now I was joking around with Drew yesterday, and you know, I'm an attorney, but if you put that many zeros at the end of any number,
right,
I am interested in a big way right off the bat.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know what's interesting is I literally was talking to my father on the way over here, and of course we're from Kentucky, and you know, he sort of sums it up. You know, it's like he doesn't understand what the big deal is. You know, he's asking me, is there something negative about him? Because he can't find it in his reading, his research. He can't find anything or any point where hemp is bad. It's like, what's, you know, why is the government wrapped up around it?
What's the big hoopla? And unfortunately, hemp, because it has a minute amount, and I mean a minute amount of THC in it, it is, you know, kind of lumped in with its big sister or little sister, depending on how you want to look at it, cannabis.
Yeah.
And, you know, even cannabis has got a bad rap, and we've talked about that over and over and over again. But the upshot of the whole thing is that both cannabis and hemp, and we differentiate between the two, at least in my mind. Cannabis is a product that you either smoke or vaporize or turn into oils for medicine, and people use it recreationally. Hemp, on the other hand, is usually defined by the various state laws as less than 0.3% THC,
right,
which is 0.3%. You know, most cannabis, if you tested it out, would test out probably somewhere north of 10% or 100 times stronger than hemp. And, you know, some of them are, you know, 22, 25, 28%.
Right. But, you know, it's sad because, you know, local law enforcement and state law enforcement and federal, they all want to lump it in when in fact they don't need to. It's so odd. They say, well, we can't tell the difference when we look at it. So, well, okay. But if you have a regulatory scheme in where, it's just like tobacco, we used to have to register the tobacco farms. If we grew tobacco, we had to register them. You can grow wild tobacco, believe it or not, without, breaking rules. So my point is any hemp farmer, or any farmer who's going to do it legitimately is going to register the farm. It's not hard for whether state police, local police to come out and see the registration and take care of business, It, again, they would rather argue about it. So anybody out there listening, I would encourage you to, put a voice out there and on not only medical marijuana, but hemp as well. Just ask some questions.
Yeah, I mean, just because we've had a lot of people, and a couple of lists of people that have called in particular that have really struck a chord with me. And one gentleman said, we're smarter, or the quote that I got is actually from a senator from I think Utah, of all places, said that the government, the people are a lot smarter than the government.
Right.
And so when people start, blowing smoke, no pun intended, and providing misleading or outright false information, you have to look at them and say, listen, tell us what your source is,
right,
or shut up. One or the other, pick one. Because, right now you could smoke an entire field of hemp.
That's right.
And the only thing that you would get is a headache.
Yeah, that's right.
And
you come near getting a house, smoking a cigar, than you would, bag of hemp. It's just ridiculous. But at any rate, us as a company, hemp is one of the fields that we want to invest in. And specifically, we feel we're investing in the future of our country in that regard.
Well, and that's the other thing too is, if you go to my website, the Cannabusinessattorney.com, or if you go to howtomarijuana.com, and tell everybody real quick how they can get a hold of you too.
Yeah, they can reach me at thecannabisprofessor@gmail.com.
Okay. That's thecannabisprofessor@gmail.com. If you go to any one of those, you'll see, red, white, and blue backgrounds, and we are unabashedly American.
Absolutely.
And, proud to be a part of this country. And also, we also realize that this is one of the few industries that is American made. It is made by Americans. It is grown by Americans. It is sold by Americans. It is grown in America. And, I'm proud to say that that's part of the push for me. But it also, it shows that, this is an industry, because of its very nature, they're not going to downsource it. They're not going to outsource it. They're going to, it's going to be right here.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of communities are seeing this as a, especially in small communities, as a way to revitalize or even save their economies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And again, it's something that all of us can get behind in some fashion. Whether or not you're investing in a business directly yourself, or investing in with a group of investors that are investing in the business, or even through the public market. There's many ways to get involved in keeping the push ahead. And then there's all types of, just like your group, there's all types of groups out there that are actually doing the work of others.
Yeah, and that we're out there pushing the envelope in whatever capital or legislative body that we have to.
60.
One of the things that we're going to talk about, we'll listen to Casey and see what he's up to. Apparently the Canavan blew a transmission. But one of the things that you need to know is that if you're investing in hemp or cannabis, either one, there's really two ways to go. One is that you can do the security side of it, with it right now is over the counter penny stock type deals. There aren't any that are listed on the big board. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the difference, and we'll talk about what you look at when you do invest in that. I've got Drew that can be reached at the cannabisprofessor.com .gmail. I am Charles, the Cannabusiness Attorney, and we will catch you on the other side.
All right. Long-held traditions. Claire.
Thank you. Mics are clear, but we still live on YouTube.
Okay.
I got to call Casey, get him online. Yes, he's going to stop talking.
Check out on BuffaloDispensary.com. Don't bring a sore back home with you tonight. Instead, stop at Jet Spray and spray your pain away. Salon Paws Jet Spray is a powerful pain reliever with 2 clean fighters that spray out clear, dry fast, and last hours and hours. Salon Paws, powerful relief when and where you need it. Available at
Good morning. We're on a break right now. I got Drew in the studio with me this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And we're going to check in and see what you're doing. And you can tell about the Cannavan crapping its transmission and tell us what's going on in Nashville and kind of what.
Well, it was a good day. We had met 2 senators yesterday. Senator Hickman, the Republican whip, talked to us for 30 minutes.
Nice.
We met the one guy in Kentucky that keeps pushing for the full medical bill, Senator Perry.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we're able to meet 2 different senators in one day. So that was, the band breaking down that happened. But the beauty of it is the senators heard us and actually came out. I mean, that was a Senate majority whip. A good old boy. He did more listening than talking. But it was quite an event.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I know Senator Perry is really, really working hard back there and making it happen.
Now, those are,
You know that.
No, well, I mean, know of him through his reputation. I mean, he's been active for quite some time, really pushing it. So I'd like to meet him. You're fortunate, I think.
He's a good old boy. He's just a good old boy, working good old hard. But they move things slow down there in Kentucky, and that city is impoverished.
Yeah, you mean it there in Frankfurt?
Yep.
Oh yeah, no, the state capital. It's got a little molasses on top of it. That's for sure. Slow.
Have you been down there?
Oh yeah. No, I grew up probably about 30 minutes away from Frankfurt.
Oh, okay. I mean, the Kentucky River right there is gorgeous.
Policy
Oh, yeah.
Project
Capital
at 1-877 join MPP or
Okay, Casey, we're going live here in a minute.
Wild Ride Radio, the only talk show for everything motorcycle. If you're a weekend rider or a hardcore biker, this is the show for you. Join me, Dallas Hagerman, every weekend as we talk 2 wheels.
Mike's live.
We're back.
All right.
You can touch this, though, because we're teaching you how to touch it. Marijuana we're talking about, and cannabis and hemp, and trying to get into the whole shooting match here. Casey, just so that it bring you up to speed, we've been talking a little bit about how you get into the markets from an investor standpoint, but we do want to hear about how the End of Prohibition tour is going and where you are and what you did yesterday. And so give us a little bit about what's happening.
Well, the last 48 hours have been really profound. We kicked off the event yesterday in Kentucky at the gorgeous state capitol right there in Frankfurt along the Kentucky River. And we were able to bring out 2 senators to speak with us. The Republican Majority Whip, Senator Higdon, and Senator Perry on the opposite side, who has actually been the most vocal advocate for medical marijuana, almost like the lone warrior there in the Senate, for medical marijuana. We had patients from every size, shape, and demographic color join us there at the Capitol. And if you have not been there, America, in that building, there's a beautiful statue of Abraham Lincoln. And that man was willing to tear this country apart for one thing, truth, that we have inalienable rights, that we are equal. And Senator Perry is taking a stand for truth, just like Lincoln did. Lincoln had no idea if that experiment worked or if it would destroy our nation. But because the truth was more valuable than safety, we have the great nation of equality that we have today. We have patients with epilepsy, cancer. One man is going blind. We had doctors and signed testimony from medical professionals preaching and trying to speak truth to power. But in Kentucky, they cannot have the petition process. So there's 138 men and women that govern 4.2 million people and their destinies. Kentucky, unfortunately, is the fifth poorest nation, or fifth poorest state in our nation. And yet they have the richest soil for pot on the planet with high calcium. That's where the bluegrass comes from. It's so good the grass turns blue.
Yeah, man.
So that state could be positioned to prosper and once again be the leader of him. But there's 137 people that is holding that state back because of dogma, because of fear, and the old reefer madness guard that still holds the keys to power in Frankfort, Kentucky.
And you know that's unfortunate. It was news to me when I was talking with some people when we were out in Kansas City last Friday for the seminar that we gave, that Kentucky was one of those few states where there is no right of ballot initiative, and it really hampers the people's ability to get these kinds of things in front of the voters where it belongs.
You're absolutely right. It has handcuffed the people, and the people of Kentucky were so kind to us, so kind to us. Even when our van broke down, people were coming out and helping us. And we went to this good old boy. We got the pictures of him. A good old boy repair shop. These guys were joking and smoking and having a great time, but they're living in poverty there. That state has been held hostage by 138 legislators for way too long. That Capitol building looks like a palace in Rome surrounded by poverty. So I challenge everyone listening to me in Kentucky to do what we talked about. Register to vote and speak truth to power. Call Senator Perry. Tell him you support him. Call Republican Majority Whip Senator Higdon and tell him to stand up, speak up, and be a Lincoln, not a log.
I love it. You know, one of the things that people don't realize is, or at least they don't think about, is the senators need a little bit of rah every once in a while themselves.
That's right.
Because, you know, they're people too, and they need to hear that what they're preaching and what they're moving forward is truly what the people want to hear.
That's right.
And so, you know, you've got to remember that they're human beings too. And unless they get your feedback, they don't know whether they're on the right track. So,
you know, that's a very good point, Mr. Allen. When I asked the senator what we could do for him, he said, I need your fortitude. He said, I need you to talk to your city. I need you to talk to your county so I, at the Capitol, can point back to my people. So he did exactly that, Mr. Allen. He asked for the people's fortitude.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and that's critical is that, you know, this is a battle that's ongoing, but it starts truly at the grassroots, and that's, you know, at your city council, at your board of county commissioners. You know, that's where you start this dialogue, because unless the senators and the House representatives and assembly people know that they're doing what you want done, there's no way that they can push this agenda forward, you know, with a straight face. But if they've got people behind them,
Yeah, that's right.
you know, then it's, you know, they say, listen, this is what the communities want. This is what my constituents want. So pay attention.
That's a very good point. We had two patients that came up. One of them, I have the right to say her name. Her name is Pat and Jennifer Dunnigan. And they lead the KCFC, Kentucky Cannabis Freedom Coalition. And they were the ones that actually brought to the Senate letters and letters and letters from dozens of people with letters from the doctor saying, I need cannabis for medical purposes. Now, Senator Higdon, with all due respect, he listened to us, but it sounded a little bit like the old tap dancer. I'd love to help with my hands tied. And he actually watched the Dateline show about marijuana and how helpful it is. So behind closed doors in Kentucky, they will listen to you, they'll talk to you, but when the doors open back up, it's more like, I'll see you later.
Yeah, they kind of forget your name.
Well, it's one of them situations too where, I tell you, all the people out there over and over, if you don't think the person you put in charge with your vote is getting it done, then get them out of office. That's the only thing that folks like that really respond to. It's not money, believe it or not. And government power is with the person who has won the vote. So it's your vote that put them in. And if you got any interest in seeing it through, you got to be willing to take them out with your vote as well.
And that's exactly the point we had at the Capitol. We found out also that 80% of Kentuckians agree with medical cannabis, but only 50% of them are registered vote.
Yeah, well, that story is around the country and just about every place I've ever visited. It's easy to talk about getting out there and doing it, but it's one time, maybe two, maximum 3 times a year that you can get off your rear end and get out there and actually do something to change the face of the community around you. And it literally starts with a vote. It's that simple.
You're going to like this, Drew. I met the Jaime Montalvo. He's with the representing a gentleman who's going blind. This guy's going to go blind in less than a year if he doesn't have access to cannabis. They caught that guy in a wheelchair. He has many other problems besides going blind.
Right.
They caught him with 2 joints.
Right.
I believe. And because he had 2 joints, it's considered distribution. Believe it or not, in Kentucky, you can have up to 8 ounces of weed in 1 bag, and it's considered personal possession. If you have 2 bags or money, you're a dealer. And then it's up to the discretion of the police officer how they're going to treat you. So this man in a wheelchair going blind, the letter from his doctor, was treated like a criminal. After a lot of hip-hop and array, they actually forced his wife to take a plea bargain of dealing to let him out. I mean, it is just criminal what some of these jurisdictions are doing to their own people. The concept of serving and protecting has been lost in the mentality of many of these judicial authorities.
Yeah, that's right. And it is absolutely ridiculous. But there's where, again, the people can take back the power, actually getting out and doing something about it. I mean, just remember this: they're going to keep getting by with it until you stop. It's just that simple. And you can stop them through the same rules that put them into office and put them into power. The same rules that can take them out. So,
amen.
And and that's the thing that I hope people are hearing is not only here on the Cannabusiness Attorney Hour, we're talking about business and how to get involved, but we're also talking about, part of business is individual freedom. If you don't have the freedom to create a business, then, why are you living in the United States? And it's time we took that back. And I think it's curious that legislators and law enforcement, that this has become the catalyst for people standing up and say, wait a minute, we're going to take our country back. We know better than our legislators, and we're going to take our country back. And so it's not just about cannabis. It's not just about hemp. It's about, the inalienable rights that you were talking about. It's written into the Constitution. We have the right to pursue happiness. And as long as we're not hurting anyone else, then, I, as an entrepreneur, should be able to launch any kind of a business that I want without fear of governmental interference and without fear that the feds are going to come knocking on the door or that some local constable is going to show up and kick down the door and put me out of business. And I agree. I think the real tragedy is that, people that desperately need this as medicine are being denied it. Now, I'm guessing that the gentleman that you're talking about that was in the wheelchair tried traditional methods to save his sight and to deal with his other conditions, and they weren't working. And we hear that over and over and over again. So why are
they were actually poisoning his body? This was based on what his doctor said. I actually had a letter from a physician from New York that was defending him. I think you're gonna like this, Mr. Howe. We met the gentleman also named Chad Wilson, who is a proud Kentucky hemp farmer. He actually did the process. We talk about business. We talk about law. Well, Chad paid attention. Chad watched what was happening, helped work on the law, and now Chad is representing the Kentucky hemp farmers. He has a hemp farm, and he's putting up a hemp processing plant that will be able to do tons of processing of Kentucky hemp for the first time in 80 years. Chad Wilson, great guy. They kind of call him the preacher of hip out here because once he got on that mic, he didn't want to stop. He was fantastic.
That's great.
And unfortunately, that's true. You have people on mic, and sometimes you got to pry it out of their hands. But again, that's an example of someone who, he saw a need, he saw a problem, he created a solution, he's continuing to create the solution, and he's created a career.
Yeah. Nobody's doing the job. He bought that same marijuana machine that's out there in Colorado for biometric identity to prove your age. And he's trying to install those all over Kentucky and have them filled with hemp products. So Americans all across this state or all across Kentucky can learn about hemp, buy hemp in vending machines, and fill those vending machines with other entrepreneurs' products. Hemp hearts, hemp seeds, hemp protein, hemp shake, hemp ice cream, you name it. Hemp oils. I think it's a great concept. So I think Chad proved exactly what we talk about every day at the Marijuana Business Academy, is that's it. Find a problem, find a solution, and you can be the next marijuana entrepreneur, whether it's hemp or cannabis.
Yeah, and then, the other side of that whole thing is sometimes you need, a little help from people that have been in the industry for a while. And, you can reach Drew at thecannabisprofessor@gmail.com. And he is a consultant. He's out there, looking for money, finding money, putting money together with people like Chad that are trying to take advantage of these rules and regulations. And incidentally, I've known Drew for a long time, but I have found out that I think number one on his priority list is his family. Number two is the fact that he served as a Marine. And number three is that he's an entrepreneur, but he's also a proud Kentuckian.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, it's always tough to hear about your home state and their troubles. But, the same troubles exist across this entire nation. And what's tough is, there's a lot of men and women out there that have shed blood, for this ability for us to take matters into our own hands. And I, again, implore people to do that through the channels that are already set up, not anarchy, through understanding the rules. I often tell, the problem is people do not care to educate themselves. If they spent more time, if they spent less time worrying about what grandma told them and more time figuring out what the real deal is currently based on our current state situation.
And, and that's the thing is, you've said it, Casey, and a lot of people have said it, and the fact of the matter is that people get away with things strictly because of the masses' apathy. And it's time for people, just like Drew just said, you got to stand up, you got to spend the time and peel away the myth from the reality and say, wait a minute, we're being sold a bill of goods here, and we need to change that. We are about to go to break. You can reach us. Actually, we'll just see you on the other side. We'll give you contact information and continue the conversation.
All day vape. They were clear.
Thank you. Casey, you still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're still on YouTube, but are you going to stick through the break, or you got to go somewhere?
Yeah. No, I'd like to talk about Tennessee.
Okay, yeah. Since you're in there, is today the big hoopla event in Tennessee?
Today's the big show, Mr. House.
Okay.
We're at in Tennessee.
Nashville.
Oh, right on, man.
It's gonna be gorgeous.
Nashville's in Nashville. You were in your hometown. Now Nashville's in his.
You know, it was a beautiful state. We came. I know it's a mountain, little hills we came through on the way down, but it was it's gorgeous going across this country. It really is. Every place is a little bit different. Every place has almost all the same problems. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. Nashville is one of my favorite cities in the nation too. I mean, it's a beautiful part of the country and a lot of wonderful people. You know.
Oh, it's packed. This city's growing like crazy. Everywhere around us, you can just see it. Tennessee, Nashville's in good shape.
You know, that's however, 250, 300, 400 miles away in Frankfurt, everything's dying on the vine, and Nashville's thriving. It's like recovery left pockets of crap behind it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's slow going up there, and you see them in their big towers of power. And, I had no idea how bad off Kentucky was. But, they're losing coal. Apparently, the regulations on coal are hurting them. If they lose coal, they don't have something to replace it. It's going to go downhill even faster. Besides having Kentucky Fried Chicken and Corvette, and they've done a good job with auto manufacturers, bringing Toyota out here, keeping Chevy out here. So they're doing, the only place in the world that builds Corvettes, and I think the #1 producer of the Toyota Tundra in America.
That's right. And their Ford plants are huge back there too.
Ford is there too.
Oh yeah, Louisville, the city of Louisville, they have one of the largest Ford plants in the country. Kicking out Ford Explorers.
I wonder if the people realize.
Going 20, stand by.
I wonder if the people in Kentucky realize that Tundras are growers' trucks.
Your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now. 800-467-7530. 800-467-7530. Coming soon to a radio near you. It's already here. Oh, man. How long was I out? What you got there, Christopher Robin? No, sorry. I smoked weed long before they paid me to.
Everybody must get stoned. Bob Dylan. Thank you, Chicago, for ringing us in with that. It kind of reminds us why we're here. Casey is still on the phone with us. He's in Nashville, Tennessee, and there's quite an event that is being put together to welcome Casey in the End of Prohibition tour. I want to remind everybody that you can listen to us at letstalkpot.com. You can certainly go to K-High's YouTube channel and see our smiling mugs. We'll wave to you right now. Our smiling mugs on YouTube. And sounds like, Casey, did you acquire a dog while you were gone? I hear a dog in the background.
No, I did not, but there's one in the neighborhood. We're actually here in Nashville, and we have a very big rally coming up in a news conference at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the old Supreme Court chamber inside the Capitol building at the Hall of Power, followed by a Capitol rally from 4 to 5:30 p.m. at the Legislative Tower, the War Memorial at 301 6th Avenue, Nashville, Tennessee. The event is free. The press conference is free. But we have 4 bands that have actually signed up to come out there and rock and roll this thing Tennessee style in the volunteer state. So this is the biggest rally yet. We have like 300 people signed up. It is going to be, it's Nashville. It's going to be loud and proud.
Well, that's what we like to hear. You know, the people are getting out and they're seeing what this is all about. I last time I heard that there was a band, and now you're up to 4 bands.
This is going to be obscene, I think, Mr. Alvin. The people in Tennessee are ready for it. They call it the volunteer state for a reason, apparently, because everyone seems to be volunteering to come out just to listen live, enjoy the music, and petition our government for change. Drew said it. If we use the power of the people, we can beat the power of money.
Oh, that's exactly right. In Nashville, that's, you know, just the entire state of Tennessee is another one of those glorious southern states that we've that has a great history. And, you know, I'm glad we're involved back there. I know it's going to be a great gathering for you back there today, Casey. And I know that, you know, the people can get the word out.
They are coming out and with guitars and strings and drums. I don't think the War Memorial's ever seen anything like this, but I think it's fitting that we're at the War Memorial, where people, like you said, Drew, as a Marine, as a veteran, people have shed blood for this. They call it the volunteer state because people volunteered as well to give their lives for something called freedom and the right of representative government. So I want to give a big tip of the hat to everyone in Tennessee today that is going to join us at the plaza and at the Capitol News Conference from 3 to 4. I'm looking forward to being inside the Supreme Court building without going to jail.
Yeah, well,
let's keep it that way.
Yeah, I was going to say the day's not over yet, but you know we'll keep a good thought for you. But I think everybody needs to hear that if you are in Nashville or anywhere near Nashville, Casey mentioned that people had signed up to come and see it. You do not need to sign up in order to show up. And we would encourage you that if you're the least bit curious, if you've got just an inkling of maybe you don't want to be in the industry, but you just want to learn what it's all about, I would encourage you to get out there and see what it's all about. It's not a bunch of, you know, rah kumbaya stuff. We're talking about personal freedom, freedom that you need to exercise, because both Casey and Drew have pointed out, men and women have died for your right to do exactly what Casey is doing right now. And so get out there and support it, learn about it, and maybe you can, you know, make the difference in what's going on in your state, and put some people back to work. I mean, you know, we keep hearing stories about, you know, pockets where this recovery has kind of left them out.
Yeah, that's right. And again, you know, this is when we talk about hemp and medical cannabis. Once people can get themselves educated and realize they're not dealing with the devil that they think they are, then, you know, we can put some people back to work.
That's exactly right. We've seen it in Colorado, Drew. You know, 10,000 plus new jobs, real estate booming, hemp growing, cannabis growing, people's lives being saved. It's pipe stick or bust there in Colorado, where people are actually uprooting their families so they can try to save their lives. And it apparently is working, because we've seen it with people like Sharice Nipper with epilepsy, or people with cancer treatments, or seizures, or PTSD, or nausea. It seems to be, it is the burning bush. It's not a miracle. It's just a miracle that we're finally seeing the light of truth overturn ignorance and fear.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Again, I cannot say it enough. People take time to, you know, engage in conversation with those around you. And again, instead of listening to the rhetoric of the past, that's all we had, you know, 30, 40 years ago, was the stories of our grandparents and great-grandparents and things like that. Now we're connected unilaterally to the entire world, you know, via the internet. You know, there's lots of great information out there to sift through, and you can find the truth. And this plant, this herb, whether it's on the hemp side or the marijuana side, is one of the greatest, absolute greatest herbs on the entire planet.
That continues to be the case. We met the hemp farmers who are preaching about the amino acids and the proteins and the complex properties of it. A spoonful of hemp a day might keep the doctor away. One patient mentioned the other day, how many diseases could we possibly prevent? Well, with this plant, instead of trying to cure people, perhaps it could be a preventive plant.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's stories around the world where the hemp seeds specifically and hemp proteins, has saved entire nations, from famine. So, I mean, we know, it's not hard if you look around to find out the truth. And it's like my father said this morning. Can you tell me anything negative that hemp, does? And there was obviously no response from me because I cannot think of a single thing, a single negative drawback to growing hemp. And therefore, when you move that over to the world of marijuana, you ask yourself the same thing. What's, in regards to what it gives back, what are the negatives? And I doubt very seriously people can come up with a list.
Well said.
Yeah, and so you got 4 bands, and my understanding you got a food truck showing up, and this is going to be an event that you're going to want to go and see, because you're going to kick yourself on Wednesday for not showing up. If you're anywhere near Nashville, show up. And even if you're just curious, I can tell you that if you have the least bit of concern about going to an event like this, I've been to hundreds of them, and you're going to be welcome. You're not going to be treated as an outsider. People want you to learn about this product, and anybody who's got any sense whatsoever is going to want to learn about what's going on, what potentially could be an $8 billion a year industry.
That's right. And
you get to help people. You're in business and you do good. I can't think of anything that's better. So check out
how.
how.
Rumor has it that the Nashville Film Academy might be sending out some of their students to use our event as a educational process so they can actually film it for school.
Yeah, and see, every little bit of that helps, because it's an ancillary education. How do you film a bunch of people in a festival atmosphere? But certainly they're going to learn something about hemp, and everyone that's there is going to learn about hemp and cannabis and what it can and can't do, and what they can do in order to become involved, even at the lowest level. Because in my mind, there is no lowest level in this. Every fight is important. But again, this is the Cannabusiness Attorney Hour, and we're talking about business. But in order to have a business, you have to have a regulatory framework, and you've got to have the legislators back you up on this and say, listen, we've had enough of all these smoke and mirrors. It's time for the truth. And the truth is, the people in the United States need industry. They need jobs. They need things to do. They need things to express their creativity. And, the film students, I do hope they come out because they get to express their creativity. And they're going to learn, just by being there.
Well, we're just down the road from the Hard Rock Hotel. We're just down the road from the Grand Ole Opry House. Nice. We're just down the road from the Country Music Awards. So this is going to be the greatest show on earth today for Americans. It's not about me. It's about those people out there that are being persecuted and prosecuted for a plan, and about those people that need it for medicine, and about those businessmen and women that are ready to switch gears, change careers, and put this nation back to work, one plant, one vote, one city, one state at a time. If you want to know how to do it, go to howtomarijuana.com. You can download the DVD right now, and you can start building your business tomorrow.
Yeah, and you can also go to newbigbiz.com. You can also, if you have questions about how to get involved in the industry, you can contact Drew at the Cannabis Professor at gmail.com. He's a wealth of information, and he can share that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Casey, I hope you have a great time back there today. I hope everybody enjoys themselves there in the great city of Nashville. And remember, you can do it the right way. Just get it done.
Yeah, and so Casey, thank you for putting that event together. I think the people in Nashville are about to have something presented to them that they've never seen the likes of. Have a fantastic day. We look forward. You're going to be able to call in tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll look forward to the reports. Keep tuned into Casey's Facebook page. Also, look at the Cannabusiness Attorneys Facebook page. We are going to be out. We'll talk more about investing tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Casey, knock 'em dead.
Thank you, sir.
This is K-High 15.
All right, we're clear. Good show, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Tom.